to the metal when the lane moving fast. Hey, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Hey.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say this before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Friday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today, and we're going to continue to talk about, especially with the holiday season. And this was kind of why I have all of these guests coming on right now as the lead up to holiday season, because freight theft and fraud and everything is bad enough right now, but like it always amplifies around the holidays. So again, we're going to talk about some of these strategies and tactics on what you guys can do to hopefully thwart some of this from affecting your customers and your book of business out there. So I have Mr. Ryan Joyce with GenLogs back on the show. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Hey man, it's great to be back. I enjoyed our last conversation and love that I'm able to join again.
No, absolutely, man. And dude, I mean, I love your dedication to this out here. I mean, I saw earlier this year, you were on your honeymoon and you're still out there posting some of the stuff you were doing. So the fact that I saw that wedding band on your hand still means that your wife's bought in and she's ready for this life.
She is. She knows who she married. And yeah, I mean, like, look, these days I eat, sleep, breathe freight, and seeing what we can do specifically, to make sure that the freight loads do not get stolen. And we can definitely dig into that today. But man, this is an industry that I didn't even know about 3 years ago. And it has been just the most inviting and awesome group of folks and humans that frankly keep America running. So it's really cool to come in and chat with you today.
No, that's the thing, right? Like there's just real salt of the earth individuals that are out here. And unfortunately, there is a group of people that want to come in here and take advantage of the good intentions of the majority of the industry. And, so like with, just to kind of get people up to speed on this, you worked for this, it was CIA, correct? And then what parallels do you think? I mean, obviously there's only so much you can say about your past career and what you're doing right now with it, but it's like, what are some of those parallels that are out there that kind of like bring that protection aspect of what you're doing at GenLogs and like what you possibly did at the CIA?
Yeah, man, there's one really clear string, and actually it's double agents and double brokers. Yeah. And it is incredible about how much the parallels are there. So let's take double agents back at CIA. Actually, if you go to cia.gov right now, the website for the CIA, in the upper right-hand corner, there's actually a button there that says report information. If you click it, the CIA is going to walk you through how you get in touch with the CIA in order to provide them with information. Well, that's awesome in order to get access to people all over the globe that might have information about the next 9/11 attack, have information about the plans and intentions of North Korea or Iran. That's what we do at CIA. We go collect that intelligence. The other issue, though, is just as many folks are crazy lunatics that are just trying to spout stuff that's actually not true. But the most dangerous element is a double agent, and that is someone that is going to tell you something that appears to be true, and you're only going to find out too late that it's not. And unfortunately, I've had friends and colleagues that were killed in double agent attacks where we thought we could trust this person, but it turns out we couldn't. Well, we really had to grapple with this at CIA. And the way that we grappled with this when someone was contacting us digitally was we would look at, hey, what is their physical footprint out there? So if they told me that they lived in this obscure place in Syria, that they drove a red pickup truck, but that they went to this market where they met with Al-Qaeda leadership, we should be able to fly a satellite or a drone overhead and see a red pickup truck at the specific house in Syria that goes to a market and then all of a sudden now engages with senior individuals that bear signatures of Al-Qaeda. Well, when you do, and you could do that over time, you start to be able to develop some trust that they tell you one thing, you can verify this through secondary, tertiary means. And now hopefully you see the parallel here, that when I came into this industry and I realized, holy crap, it is the same issue. We have folks that are coming to you digitally off a load board saying, yeah, dude, I can take your load. Send me over the rate con, like all the above. And you're like, wait, can I trust this person? And GenLogs actually, the whole reason we exist is we've taken all of the lessons learned, the hard lessons learned from 2 decades on the global war on terror and all of that vetting that we had to do of potential agents or double agents. And we now apply that to freight so that you can actually validate when someone says they're going to take a load from you from, let's say, Southern California to Chicago. Well, have we seen that same carrier on the roads running that lane with the right equipment? Or more importantly, have we seen them out there at all? And we'll get into that a little bit more, but that's the big takeaway for me is double agents, double brokers, very similar problem. We can tackle it the same way.
No, I do. I agree with that. And I didn't even think about drawing a parallel like that out there. But and I believe we talked about this on the last time you were on the show. Like I look at with where things are. And I mean, we've all seen the videos out there about people swapping decals on the side of trucks. They got 17 different trucking companies that are out there. And, for me, it's like, I look at it as, I truly feel this way. And I feel like the current administration is brought it to this level it's like, it is a matter of national security at this point, because if we had anybody come in that isn't vetted properly, that is behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler, like I just look at it as like, you just don't know. And I think that we have to take this matter as serious as they are out there, because and I'm not saying that there aren't people who have been here for a long time that aren't flying under the radar or anything like that, that wouldn't be just as likely to do this. But like, I look at with where things are and how easy it is to be a chameleon carrier and how easy it is to have, they just busted a driver recently with like 3 different CDLs in his truck. Mm-hmm. So like, there's a lot of stuff that comes in when it comes down to national security to me. Is that another thing that you are finding like a lot of motivation in, Ryan, between these two parallels of your past career and your currently what you're building at GenLogs?
Oh man, we like to joke at GenLogs that we used to track terrorists and now we track trucks. But this last week, actually, it was kind of came full circle. We were supporting a customer brand new on our platform, and they got on our platform and started looking at some of the carriers that were in their network. And one really stood out as being suspicious. And the more that they kind of dug into it, the more that they saw some chameleon activity that was happening within this carrier. They'd be one MC number the one day, another the next. And when they finally got to the bottom of it, they actually brought in Interpol. It turned out that this carrier was involved in terrorist financing to ISIS. And it was a cross-border operation between Canada and the US. And here GenLogs was just like, hey, we're going to help you find better capacity and defend against double brokering. And we're literally stopping, terrorist financing. And so we like to joke, we used to track terrorists, and guess what? We still do sometimes. But what you said earlier is so great about salt of the earth. That is exactly what I've found in this industry, is that like 99.9% of the people out there, I've just found to be like genuine, trying to make an honest dollar and doing what they can to frankly make national security better. We talk internally at GenLogs that we exist to build unbreakable supply chains to make the United States safer and stronger. And the more we can enable our customers through that, that's a mission we can all get behind. It's that small percentage of bad actors that we need to be ruthless in rooting out.
Yeah. I mean, so speaking of being ruthless, let's talk about some blind spots out there, because I think a lot of organizations, they don't think about it until it's too late. What are some of those key blind spots that you think some of your customers have identified after the fact in using your guys' product out there after they've deployed it into their organization?
Yeah. For a while, it was, we were helping like after a theft occurred. It was like, gosh darn, this, trailer's gone. We got to figure it out. And in our platform, you can certainly put a trailer number and we'll alert you when it's seen. But we were like, we got to get ahead of this, because last November, so we're talking over a year ago, we actually announced that we were going to investigate all stolen and missing equipment for the entire industry for free. And we've done that. So we've actually completed hundreds and hundreds of investigations of lost and stolen equipment, stolen loads, and all the above. The one common trend that we've probably seen about 90% of them is that the carrier that our customer, the broker, used, the carrier itself actually was a good carrier at one point in time. Like they didn't suddenly like wake up on the wrong side of the bed and say, I'm going to steal 12 loads from a bunch of different brokers. No, what happened was they were out there. Times got tough because they were getting undercut on price. And they just said, you know what, I'm doing something else. And they actually sell their motor carrier number on some of these Facebook groups out there. Yeah. But these days, that's coming complete with the phone number, complete with the email and the bank account sometimes, which means all of those other digital only vetting platforms, that's how you can bypass that with 2-factor authentication. And so you've used this carrier every month for the last year, and they reach out about taking a load and you're like, yep, sounds good. Well, guess what? It's now someone else using their email. It's now someone else using their phone to get bypass some of the rate con, checks that might be out there. What they can't hide is that their trucks for this carrier just suddenly disappeared. And that's what GenLogs sees. We see that every week we sell them out on the road, 6 to 10 times around the country, kind of developing certain patterns, or maybe they're chasing spot loads. So we see them all over the place. But the point is they're there. We're constantly seeing them. Like we see almost all carriers and trucks on the roads almost every day. And when all of a sudden a week or 2 week period goes by where we haven't seen that carrier at all, that starts to raise some warning flags that maybe you should dig a little bit deeper, even if you moved a load with them last month. That, hey, did something materially change with this carrier? And that's how we're helping bridge that digital and physical footprint.
Do you think, because I'm trying to think of because I think that's one of the most untalked about issues out there, Ryan, is the fact that there are people out there who are actually selling the entirety of their company with a clean record, bank accounts, like everything. They're doing it for pennies on the dollar, essentially, right? Like I've seen some of these Facebook groups out there, and people are getting offered 20, 30 grand for that stuff. And all they got to do is take that carrier's information, upload it quick. They got a clean record. Boom. They're going to give you way more. Who knows how much they might give you for access to that information? Is that something that, like, how is there a way that people can really track that to kind of notice, like, hey, this is transferred today? Where's that notification process in place that it's transferred ownership out there? I mean, especially because it's like, let's be real, they're not doing a legal bill of sale or anything like that. It's just like probably a Zelle or a cash transaction coming to these guys, and they're just taking over all the logins.
Yeah. I think there actually needs to be some type of regulation on that. Like, I don't know that I can just go out and buy United Airlines tomorrow. I'm pretty sure there'd be some like checks and balances along the way to prevent me if I had the money to do so. And so, first of all, I agree with you, I just think there needs to be some type of like, hey, you can only actually transact that motor carrier number through whether it's DOT, FMCSA, whatnot. Now, but then you also need to have penalties if it's not done that way, and there needs to be enforcement. And I would say like that's where the issue really is that it just continues to be a little bit of the Wild West out there. That if you as an upstanding carrier get to the end of it all and are like, dude, prices are in the gutter, I can't survive. I can get that 20 to 30,000 to at least maybe like pay back some loans and be done with it. Like I understand the economic incentives, you're going to do it. When someone buys that from you and then goes out and harms and steals a lot of different freight, there's actually like no recourse or nothing that actually falls on the seller there. And so it's really appealing to do so if you can recoup like a few $10,000s of dollars. Obviously for the buyers, those crooks and thieves out there, man, I would spend $10,000 to $20,000 all day, or 30,000 if I knew that I could get a $200,000 plus score and then burn through like 5 or 6 of those thefts before I'm on everyone's DNU list. And that's basically just what we're seeing is a turn and burn buying MCs out there. And the last thing I'll say on this is I do think we're seeing the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, some others really step up on enforcement when it comes to English language proficiency, non-domiciled CDLs. That's all well and good. I actually think that's a good thing for the market. What it's not good for is some carriers that are going to be like, look, all my non-domiciled CDL drivers, they won't show up. The ELD that I was using now got pulled and I'm getting violations left and right. No broker will work with me. So I'm just going to sell it. So actually, I think we're going to see a wave of this enforcement that's happening lead to a higher number of sales before capacity starts to even out. And then the ones left in the market are the ones that are actually benefiting now from higher mileage rates.
I personally, it is of my stance right now that what we are going through in the industry is going to get exponentially worse over the next probably, I would even go as far as like 2 years. Yeah. And I say that because I don't see the current administration letting up at all on any of this stuff out there. And I think this is going to drive a desperation tactic where it's like, hey, we're caught. Let's see how much we can get out in the amount of time that we have left. And then again, it's like, I like to bring back to your point about those repercussions. I feel like, again, if you're going to just give your business away like that, and you're not going to like have any clear form of legal separation to absolve yourself from any criminal activity that happens after the fact, like they need to be drug into this and they need to be held accountable as well, because I mean, I'm not a lawyer or I wasn't in law enforcement. Isn't that aiding and abetting of some sort where it's like, there's got to be something there that shows like, dude, you didn't separate yourself from it. You are now at fault. And again, most of these people are here stateside. A lot of these people who are purchasing this stuff, not all of them, are in foreign countries right now. And what do they care?
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. The enforcement piece is the issue. I would say though, like right now, unless it's explicitly said, hey, I want to buy your MC so that I can go steal another dozen loads during Christmas, holidays. There's always going to be that kind of like plausible deniability of like, hey man, like someone approached me and they said that, they're adding trucks and, their old MC had an issue or whatever. And I just don't know that any of this is going to hold up in court unless the rule is, hey, you can transact your MCs, but you have to do it through the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration or otherwise. And then, that has to be validated with two-factor authentication on both parties. And we have to know who the buyer is. We have to know that they're a U.S. citizen. We have to know that, they're domiciled in the U.S. Like, I think there's checks and balances that'll just be good, not only for the industry, but national security going back there. I'll say that, we have a public sector team that's been dealing with a lot of the federal and state law enforcement, and others there. When you actually dig into who's hauling the Department of War's freight these days and some of the violations that are popping up there, where you also have ELP violations, non-domiciled CDL violations, you're just kind of scratch your head and say, how are we letting the most sensitive materials out there that's going to help us fight a war with a foreign enemy, just putting that into a truck with someone that is not vetted and not trustworthy? That's got to change ASAP.
Yeah. And I think that almost goes down to the loading and unloading level that's going on out there, because like, man, I've delivered into military bases. I mean, within the last 12 months, I know what my drivers had to go through. I know what documentation we had to provide to even get the driver access onto the base. Mm-hmm. And the fact that happened, because I believe that happened was it Maryland here recently? Yeah. And so again, it's like the fact that that's happening again, like that ground level enforcement of this stuff is like, it's just a massive oversight, I think, out there. Again, it's like, oh, hey, you have the right paperwork, boom, load this up on the back of the truck. And, that kind of leads me into my next question is I think there's a lot of people out there, Ryan, who are like, this isn't going to happen to me. We're too small, or we're too sophisticated. They think that they're prepared. How many times, like, what are some of those shocking lessons that you've, worked with your customers on after they're like, hey, I think we got compromised here?
Yeah, well, fortunately, when our customers implement kind of checks on the physical footprint, all the above, that amount of theft or that vector really does drop to near zero. I think ITS Logistics, after they adopted GenLogs, their critical incident rate is something like 0.004%, which means like 4 loads out of 10,000 have an issue that they have to deal with. And even then, the other day we were, when there was an issue, we helped recover that load. And so they're like back to, hey, not an issue going forward. It's really everyone else that is coming to our website who if I read the names to you, you'd be shocked that like, wow, they're having these issues continuously. Aren't they ex-customers of this vetting platform or that vetting platform? Or don't they have all of them? And I'd be like, yeah, you can make as many investments as you want on the digital footprint side. And there's still going to be someone that's going to come feeling squeaky clean. They're going to get past any type of filters. But when we investigate, they literally don't have trucks on the roads and haven't for like the last 30 days. And so, that I would say is like the lesson learned. And a lot of people say like, well, there's no silver bullet. And I totally agree. You should have a comprehensive approach to making sure that you're doing vetting and compliance all along the way. What I can say, if you are not checking the physical footprint, then you have been hit. I know it. And if you're listening to this saying like, no, seriously, we don't, because we go all these checks, like, then it is just a matter of time. And unfortunately, like some of the customers that we brought on board, they were dealing with dozens of loads being stolen or having issues per month. And then they saw that drop off when they started with GenLogs. And a lot of them will say, man, we got our ROI in the first week. Like when loads stopped being stolen, now like our insurance rates are better. We're, better relations with our customers. That's what the real benefit is here. That's what we get super pumped to support.
So, I mean, How do you guys identify? And again, if you don't want to speak about this publicly, I completely understand. But like, how do you guys detect any past transgressions from some of these carriers that have maybe become a chameleon carrier? Like, there's got to be a digital footprint out there, because again, I look at, no matter what, some criminals are just inherently lazy. They're leaving, DNA, we'll call it, on a coffee cup in a, in a cafe somewhere. How are you guys picking up on any of that? Again, leave any of that information off the table that you don't want to give out anything, but like, can you kind of walk me through some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I can walk through, and maybe there's some people listening to this. If it's cool with you, I think I can share screen. I'm going to share a few of these. Let's go into it. All right. We'll share.
While he's pulling this up, guys, this will be available on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on audio, if you want to go to the YouTube channel, the Freight Coach podcast on there, you can check out this stream and it'll be on there. And then can you add it to the stage, or do I need to do that?
Let me see. Are you not able to see there we go. So, and I'll scroll through, so I know like it's getting cut off a little bit at the top, but like here, let me just walk you through some examples of like what we see out there in the road. Here's this one was crazy to me when we stumbled across it. Here you have on April 3rd, 2025, we had the exact same license plate, a New Jersey plate AZ443B, being used within about 2 hours of each other from two different trucks from two different DOTs. And it wasn't that it was the same truck that they just put the new DOT sticker on. You actually see that kind of damage or that dark spot there, and that's cab number 68. The one above was a completely different truck, yet the exact same license plate that, one of those license plates is cloned and out there. And we were observing that. Here's another great example where we saw a carrier that it was the same truck all the time. So you see this, I think it's 034 was the truck number, but one day it's NSD transport. Then we see them running as Bull Transportation covering the NSD transport, and then their Bull Transportation the next day. We actually saw them oscillate. So it was NSD Bull, same truck, a few days away, and they're changing that out. And this one I'll kind of close on. This was a well-known theft ring that was out there, where we saw the same truck posing 7 times as different carriers. And some of these were legitimate carriers that were actually still operating on the roads. They had just hijacked their, probably hacked their digital footprint, or hacked their email or whatnot, got access to loads, and then slapped a DOT on there to then go to that shipper's location and pick it up. And they got away with tens of millions of thefts over the last year. In fact, this was one of about 4 to 5 different trucks that we saw all operating as the same syndicate, all doing the same activity out there. But that's just some examples of like what we're able to look at and see when we're watching. And our data science team, they're cracked, man. They are actually assigning a unique GenLogs identifier to every single truck on the roads, using the different types of visual clues that if you really started to study a truck, you could say like, hey, I think this one's different from that one. Like that damage that we saw in the fender versus another one.
Yeah.
And by providing a unique truck ID to every single truck, when we see the same truck ID suddenly change a DOT, then we can start to look at like, hey, was that chameleon carrier activity? Do we see the entire fleet change? And if you remember earlier this year in June, when that Hope Trans LLC crash happened in Texas, they finally, had their insurance pulled and they were going out of business, at least pulling their trucks off the road. And sure enough, we saw their trucks start to leave the roads. Well, we had put our technology in place to alert whenever those same trucks showed up in other fleets. And what we were really looking for is, did they just roll the entire fleet into a new DOT, or did they break those apart and it seems to go into more reputable fleets that they, the leases were returned, they sold the trucks or whatnot. And in this case, at least it looked like the latter. But we have that now latent technology we're going to be developing more in 2026 to uniquely fingerprint and track a truck through space and time.
Unfortunately, we don't have enough time for the amount of questions that I have for you at this moment with just that, what you're showing there, Ryan, what you said. But like, is this the importance? Because again, every truck out there that, is past 1999 engine model has to have a form of an ELD associated with this. How are they bypassing this? Is that the self-certification ELD providers that are out there? Is that the main reason why the FMCSA has cut that, or they're like removing thousands of them by the day. Well, not by the day, but thousands of them so far.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is it's that it's the self-certification ELDs that you can, hit up Bucky over in Bulgaria, and they can change your hours, there, so that, hey, different hours. If any of these are actually built on the Android system, it's not that difficult to actually go to the route and have different GPS coordinates like reporting back. And, AI is a double-edged sword, because you used to think, well, I'll just use AI to look at like what looks suspicious, what looks like manipulated, that it's not actually following the real roads or the contours and this and that. Well, now you can actually train an AI model to spit back coordinates that are indistinguishable. And I think that's really going to be the issue these days. I saw the other day that, I love the ingenuity. Someone came out with a voice ID print. So like, hey, if you taught it with this carrier before, they take a unique print of that voice. And then if they call in again, they're making sure, is this the same print? Well, these days, we're going to see AI really leapfrog to the point that it'll be indistinguishable. And you're going to be constantly playing this cat and mouse game, that someone could be talking as Ryan Joyce and it'll be coming over as someone else when it's actually received on the other side from a voice print perspective. I just think ultimately, like this digital, it's chaos in the digital vetting space. You cannot clone or hide whether you have a 53-foot dry van and 80,000 pounds under tow on the roads or not. And I think like that is what we're finding, is that if you look at the digital footprint as kind of getting like, all right, who is this carrier? Well, let's see what GenLogs says. That's where you actually stop theft at its root. And that's why we're releasing next week our carrier compliance suite, which just automates all of this. So you as a brokerage could set this up once to say, hey, GenLogs, only let me book with this carrier, at least like review if all of a sudden there's been a change in their physical footprint. And we'll do that to you. We'll do that right in the TMS, right in your email, wherever you need it, to kind of give you that heads up that like, hey, this physical footprint screams some red flags.
Yeah, man, that sounds fantastic, right? Like, because to me, it's like, I look at with where things are, and as we're kind of wrapping up here, Ryan, I think like, yes, we are in a very digital age with everything that goes on out there. But at the end of the day, we have to put that physical asset management into place to be able to truly thwart a lot of this stuff that goes on out there. And this is why I always say like the most, like, I think a really good place to start for a lot of people is stop booking loads via email. Like actually talk to these individuals, do something, make it a little bit more challenging for them to get access to your freight. Do something more than what most people are currently doing out there to get that. But Ryan, I appreciate your time today, man. I know you got a busy schedule ahead of you here. How can anybody reach out to you guys to find out more about what you got going on at GenLogs?
Yeah, well, you can definitely come to our website. It's GenLogs.io, GenLogs.io. You go to the upper right-hand corner, there's going to be two buttons. If you've had anything ever stolen, hit the button that says, report loss of stolen equipment, and we're going to help you find it for free. So like, that's our commitment to you. But if you're just interested in seeing a broader demo and understanding what we can do for you, you can hit the book the demo button. Our team will hop on. We'll be here up until the start of the holidays here. And then we'll see you again in the new year. Hey, it was great to join you again today. I always enjoy this conversation.
Oh, man, I appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you so much. And that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can't find Ryan or GenLogs out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. But that is going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, which you should be, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you see value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the